This morning, I'm really delighted to be chatting to one of their co-founders, Raymond Yang, along with Belle Tam, their head of Department of Schools Communications, and we'll be talking about better communication with our children about this new adjustment. Welcome back on the program, Raymond, and welcome to the show. Belle, it's great to see you both. How are you today?
How are you?
Oh, I'm a bit nervous now because this is the first time I get into the radio channel.
We're excited.
Yeah, I'm grateful to have been interviewed by Noreen again.
I'm so happy and excited to be chatting with you both, and really happy to be meeting you for the first time, Belle. And I'm sure our listeners are really excited and delighted because we are live on Facebook this morning. Noreen Mir on RTHK Radio 3. You'll be able to see and hear Raymond and Belle there. So without further ado, for some of our listeners who are tuning in for the first time, who may not be so familiar with the work that you're doing at Just Feel, Raymond, perhaps you can go first. What is it exactly you do there?
Just Feel is an emotional education nonprofit founded in 2018. We have a vision to transform the communication culture in Hong Kong families and schools. With our Compassionate School program, we empower educators and parents to have a better communication skills, especially based on compassionate communication and social emotional learning. We always wanted to improve the communication and relationship between teachers and students, parents and child, so that the kids can grow up in a safe environment and have a better mental well-being in the longer term. So in the following, we will share some of our stories in the program, because we always wanted to have a preventive, holistic and systemic approach, which we gather a lot of frontline experience from our beneficiaries.
I'm really sorry. We are experiencing a little bit of problem on Facebook. I think we are back on live once again. I do apologize. And that is the joys of live radio. Something these happen. So I went from feeling excited to feeling a bit anxious. So I'm glad I'm able like a roller coaster. And I'm sure that could be the similar feeling to some of the children who go back. Thank you so much for your understanding, Raymond. So it's so important for teachers and students to be able to check in with their emotions. But we often hear that schools are so busy getting through the curriculum. Is it sort of, checking in with feelings and emotions? Have you noticed it taking a back seat, or is there sort of more awareness these days, bringing these to the forefront?
It's having more awareness, but it's still a very hard topic because in a culture, it's not easy. Like just now, Noreen, you did. When you experience some problem in the Facebook Live, you can share how you feel nervous. But in the schools, it's not a common practice. So if we are in a roller coaster of these years in the pandemic, and we sit together and it's like class resumption, and we actually resume to the full day class, we have a lot of stories, and maybe I'll invite Belle to share how the teachers and students feel.
Sure. Before the school resumed, I think many teachers coming to us and say that they're very nervous. One of the situation is hosting the students to get the lunch together. It's happened a very years, like they didn't have any food in the class, and teachers are very nervous about will they mess up with the lunch box. They like to eat the food and drop everything on the floor. They are kind of a bit nervous. But on the other side, we heard that the students is a bit excited and looking forward to it. So after all, we can see actually students and teachers have different mixed feelings, I guess. And for parents as well, they are a bit worried because getting back to school with the longer hours, they also worry about their physical well-being of their child. And also their parents also is a bit relieved, I guess, because they can send their children back to school, so they have more personal time as well. So I guess everybody has a mixed feelings. But in terms of did they actually express their feelings? So we can see that some schools are getting more focus and more attentions to the well-being of the students. That's why they kind of set up the emotional thermometer to let the students to speak up for themselves, to post what they are feeling every day. Maybe we can show a few pictures with our audience.
Yes,
So
I'd like to report that we are live back on Facebook, so our listeners, if you can, join us there. Noreen Mir on RTHK Radio 3. I think Belle and Raymond have prepared some photos for us on the Facebook, so we're able to see. So, Belle, just going back slightly, you mentioned the emotional thermometer. Explain that to our listeners. What is that exactly?
So in each of the our partner schools classroom, all the classroom has a board, magnetic board that there are 6 different kinds of feelings on top. So students every day when they get to this classroom, after they put down their school specs, they can take their own name tag and stick on the board to show like, oh, how do they feel this morning? Like a morning check-in. So this board gives chance for the students to express themselves, as well as the students can understand each other's situation as well. So the teachers also take the board as a tool to understand, how my class is looking like today.
And are students, quite forthcoming with their emotions and feelings? Do they like to share how they're actually feeling? What's your experience?
I guess there are a few types of students. Some of them, they just stick on it and then keeping quiet to see who is going to come to me and speak today. Some of them is just sticking their stickers and say like, hey, today I feel like happy. So yeah, they have different kind of interactions. And we see that this is a good communication tools for the students to connect with each other.
Yeah. I suppose with students, and not just students, but even as adults, sometimes our vocabulary can be quite limited. We just don't know. We know we feel a certain way. Like, for example, maybe I feel just now I felt angry at the Facebook for not working, just as an example. But I don't know, anger is always a secondary sort of emotion. It was because I was frustrated about it sort of collapsing. And so do students or perhaps even teachers or adults have that sort of vocabulary for all of their feelings? What's your observation? Raymond, Belle?
This is a very mixed situation. Some teachers told us they are also excited because some new teachers who got into the sector in recent years, they also haven't experienced the giving lunch experience. That's why they also need support. But mostly we hear teachers feel anxious and maybe nervous because it has been a long time that they only go through the half day with the students.
That's right.
That's why we also support teachers to be more familiar with the situation. And we also empower the teachers to feel more about themselves and embrace their feelings and needs. In our Teachers for Learning focus group, we will talk with the teachers and connect with each other. With a safe space there, teachers have a better place to self-regulate. Before we connect with the students, we first connect with ourselves, not even the positive emotion, but also the negative emotion matter the same because they tell us what needs behind we have. For example, order or safety, or according to the Education Bureau, we share the same direction. Like the Education Bureau has a web page called Resuming Vibrant Life at School. And we always want the teachers, parents, and students, 3 major stakeholders, to all get adjusted step by step, but not in a rush, because it will cause too many negative emotions. And the keywords from the Education Bureau actually share the same with our Compassionate School program. Like the Education Bureau suggests security, allowance, familiarity, and emotional regulation, which our motto, connection before solution, share the same.
Yeah. Raymond and Belle, how does the partnership work? So you go into the schools and, I mean, it's a 3-year partnership with most of these schools. What do you do inside the school and how often do you revisit them, or how do you give tools to help them connect with their students?
Our program is a 3-year partnership, which in the first year, we're trying to establish a team and a basic knowledge and awareness towards the social-emotional learning. So our role is more like a supporter, a connectors, and also a developers, means like training. We use the train-the-trainer model to empower the teachers and the parents. So through some workshops, co-learning focus groups, some intensive sections together, the teachers are more familiar with what is compassionate communication. So after they got these kind of knowledge, they try to promote to their students as well through the social emotional learning curriculum. So we have lesson preparation sections together with the teachers to prepare how to teach students like communication skills or self-awareness. And throughout the interactions with the teachers, we also collect feedback from them. So after the first year, second year, and the third year, we try to get our program in a deeper and a wider level to also include parents in the work as well. So we always believe that teachers and parents is the closest people with the students. So their involvement and the atmosphere that they create is very important.
Yeah, and and you're absolutely right, because they are the caregivers. Well, in Hong Kong, we've got a unique situation where there's also helpers and grandparents being the caregivers also. How do you go about educating the children so that they can feedback and give feedback to their grandparents? Because I mean, for example, I was raised by my pawpaw, and a lot of the times, if I cried I think it's not just pawpaw, but I think all generations, if you cry, then they say, "Oh, Mohammed, don't cry," and now, as a parent myself, we have to get in touch and sort of say it's okay to cry. Mummy cries as well, but it doesn't come naturally, because the voice in my head also is like, don't cry, but you can't say it even though you think it. So how do you go about re-educating parents and grandparents? Belle, Raymond?
Yeah, Noreen, I really appreciate how you have the high self-awareness of how you may transform what your grandparents told you to your kid without awareness. We actually do the same to our stakeholders. Like, we have published a lot of videos and with our tools, so that the parents and grandparents at home, they can watch the YouTube videos, which is in Cantonese, and to first practice self-connection, so that they can demonstrate as a role model to their kids, like, oh, I feel jealous. And then when the kids hear that, the kids will know, oh, parents, grandparents also have negative feelings. I can also have this feeling. I can also share this feeling in this way, instead of punching myself or punching the others.
Yes.
This is a very important daily example. And the other way we have is hosting the Compassionate Parents Day. We have this whole school approach, Compassionate Parents Day, to replace the existing Parents Day, where a lot of times kids are sitting there listening to their teachers and parents' advice or comment. But now we transform it into a safe space for every stakeholder to enjoy a 5-minute airtime to express the feelings and needs equally. This is a very important and effective way for transforming the parents into another modality of connecting with their kids compared with the past culture. Maybe, Noreen, you can try with your daughter as well. I know you have daughters.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, because I remember the cards that you've published as well. They have been so instrumental and amazing in terms of expanding our vocabulary and the different words and just, identifying different feelings. So I really recommend that for our listeners, because a lot of the times we feel these emotions, but sometimes even as adults, we can't correctly identify what it is pinpointing exactly that we feel. And I know that because I also have teacher friends that readjusting to full day education can also induce anxiety. And you mentioned a really good point, Raymond and Belle, that you've got to have self-care as teachers to be able to then care for your students. What sorts of emotions or what sorts of feedback have you received from teachers now going back to full day education? What have they been saying? Belle?
Yes, teachers are they are a bit nervous, but also excited as well. And I guess many teachers are encountering a lot more students' behavioral problems, and they are a bit they are so uncertain. They don't understand what happened to the students. So let me share a case. One of the teachers tells us that there are little girl is trying to play the soap in the hand soap in the toilet every day. So all the soap are gone, and the teacher is trying to say, like, oh, what happened to the students? So as beside like getting some punishment for the students, she tried to connect and talk with the students. So they're playing these kind of cards too, the feelings and needs, and ask about what happens to you. And the students they cannot express themselves easily. So they use these cards, pictures, and saying like, I am stressed. And when I play the soap, I feel relieved.
Wow.
And she's very confident with that. Yeah, and after all, like the teachers understand that, oh, it's not only in the top layer we see the behavioral problem, but also they see their needs of connection and safety in the schools.
You're listening to Brunch with me, Noreen Mir, on this Friday morning. And we're talking to Raymond Yang, along with Belle Tam from Just Feel, which is a local NGO that provides social and emotional education support to teachers and to students. And just before the news break, Belle, you were sharing a story of how this teacher was helping the young girl who was playing with the soap in the bathroom. And she was trying to get to the bottom of the story of why the soap was finished so quickly. And it's because the little girl was perhaps feeling a bit stressed about things, and through playing she was able to sort of identify those feelings and share with the teacher. And I can see Raymond holding it up on Facebook. I'd love for our listeners to join us there. Noreen Mir on RTHK Radio 3. So can you also share some tips with our parents and caregivers who are listening? How can we tap into these emotions? How can we I guess what I'm trying to say is parents sometimes and caregivers sometimes work very late. And when they come home, it's dinner time, it's checking the homework. A lot of the time is not really dedicated towards checking in and tapping in with the feelings of children until it's too late sometimes. So how can we foster that room for education? Raymond or Belle?
Yeah, we have different tips. Like we all have different kinds of paths degrees. For me, I'm not a father, but I know before I become a father, the first thing I have to do is to first connect with myself. Because if I am already very angry, like I will just shout at my kids and I cannot connect with him and care about him. That's why when we always do the parents workshop, we invite the parents to first connect with ourselves. Like if we don't have the vocabulary, just search for the vocabulary. If we don't have the tools, we can take out some tools and look at them and check in with ourselves. Or call some friends to see, hey, can you listen to me for 5 or 10 minutes? It already makes a difference if we do it on a regular basis. And it becomes a habit that we talk with the kids peacefully and stably, instead of we cannot regulate ourselves and then we affect the children and make them anxious, insecure, afraid. That will be bad. Like we have a family thermometer, not only the classroom version, but the family version. And we can share with you later. Like, Noreen, you can practice with your daughter.
Yes, I'd love to.
What's your tips?
Yeah, and I guess after the adults is connecting with themselves more, they can start to connect with their children as well. So active listening is a very good tips. And also try to be patient, to be like, maybe sometimes students, children is not ready to speak. So we give the right for them to wait, whether they want to say now or later. We try to be open, active listening, being open, and also respect their choice, like how they want to present, like do they want to draw it out or they want to sing it out, or whether they want to just tell you a long story. So I think respecting their choice is also very important. And lastly, of course, is try to keep secret. Like this is between you and the children, not trying to being a gossip around. So I guess this is also building a kind of safety for the students that to share and express themselves.
Like we not only want to transform the culture at school, but also at families. So our tools do not only are present in the classroom, but you can see we use these cards at homes. We use the barometer at homes, and we also have the compassionate diary for parents and kids to write their feelings, draw their feelings, and connect with each other regularly, which become a habit and will in turn build a long-term healthy relationship, which share the safety, connectedness, and a sense of belonging.
Absolutely. And I totally agree with you, Belle and Raymond, because children look to adults and the adults around them to model behavior. So as adults, as parents or as caregivers, if you can't regulate your emotions, how do you expect the children to regulate their emotions? So that's really important. And also, I think, yeah, just extending the compassion that you would to your friends and your family. Why wouldn't you do that with your children as well? I remember when my daughter was really upset after she lost her favorite pencil that she got from Papa, and she came back from school and she said, I lost my pencil. And I actually told her not to bring it to school to begin with. I said, oh, maybe it's better to leave it at home. And she lost it. And when she came back, the first reaction I had inside my head, I should stress, is inside my head, I wanted to say, oh, you should have left it at home. You see, I told you. But I suppressed that. And I just sort of, because she was so upset, I just sort of said, I can see how upsetting it is. It must be so sad to lose your favorite pencil. Yeah, but it took some practice. I'm not saying I don't yell at my children, but I can see how upset it is for her already. And if I add to her being upset, if I continue to say something like, oh yeah, told you not to, that would make her even more upset. So it's just to name out the emotion. I can see you're so upset. It's really sad when we lose our favorite toys or favorite pencil. And I think she already knows, oh, I shouldn't have brought it to school. There's no need to add to that already. But it does take practice. And there are some days when I'm still like, trying to, and I, along with my friends. I mean, Raymond, what do you say to that? Sometimes as, adults, it's hard to sometimes combat that internal language that we have, that we were raised with.
If I were you, I would do a little more. One thing is hug her.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we did. Gave her a big cuddle, and it's okay. And, mummy's also forgetful, and I've lost things as well. And I think also apologizing. I think I have, people do sometimes lose their temper or yell, not in a all the time. But when you do make a mistake like that, apologize and offer your apology and said, I shouldn't have spoken to you in that way because that was wrong. And then children are so forgiving. They're like, it's okay, mummy, it's okay. And it's really sad to see like how innocent they are. And yes, so I really encourage all parents listening to not yell and to, be more active listeners. Belle, Raymond?
And Noreen, you really demonstrating and living out our motto, connection before solution with your daughter.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that. But we'll have to ask her and see how she feels. I'm sure she'll be like, Mummy is so strict. But finally, remind our listeners once again, are you on Facebook and also your social media and your YouTube? How can we connect with your organization?
Oh, we are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So please feel free to connect with us and then look at our stories at the main poll column. We always share different kinds of stories of connecting with ourselves, with our kids, with our students, with our colleagues, with our loved ones. We all want to have a compassionate towards ourselves and each other so that in a peaceful world.
Well said. And I'm going to give a heart to you, Raymond, and to Belle. Thank you so much for your sharing today. And I really look forward to having you back on the program. And we were talking to Raymond Yang, one of the co-founders of Just Feel, along with Belle Tam, their head of departments of school communication. Thank you so much for your sharing today.